I'm Dr. Roshan Parikh. I'm a deep meditation coach and spiritual teacher based in New York City. I'm also the host of the Blissipline podcast. Today, I'm here to answer your questions from the internet. This is meditation support. Cora asks, is meditation total bullshit? Are there any scientific studies with reproducible results or any measurable effects of meditation? Meditation is not bullshit. There are many rigorous peer-reviewed scientific studies conducted by reputable scientists that highlight how meditation can affect a person. The research you'll find will point to changes in the brain, nervous system, mood, and behavior. You may even find insights about how meditation can affect your hormones and other aspects of your biology. You can use platforms like Google Scholar, PubMed, even AI these days to find these studies. What often leads people to be skeptical about meditation is it can take a long time to notice results. So, in the short term, many people think it's not really doing anything for them. But you have to be patient. Meditation reconditions your brain, your nervous system, and even your psychology, and all of this takes time. Cora asks, what's the difference between yoga and meditation? I'm so glad someone asked this question. Yoga is largely misunderstood. The physical stuff that's more commonly thought of when one thinks of yoga, specifically the stretches, the postures, the poses, those are known as asanas, and they are just a small part of what yoga actually is. Yoga is a more broadly encompassing system of actions that are specifically geared toward facilitating advanced meditation practice. So, this can include things like performing asanas, but it also includes doing certain kinds of breath work or even engaging in morally upstanding behavior. It's more accurate to say that yoga has more to do with meditation than it does the physical postures and poses and stretches that yoga studios and gyms have popularized in recent history. A Reddit user asks, do I have to sit cross-legged on the floor, a mat, or a cushion to meditate properly? No, you don't. The general purpose of being able to sit in what's commonly referred to as the lotus posture is to give you physical stability anywhere you sit. Even if you don't have back support, you'd be able to meditate wherever you happen to be sitting. But it's not a hard requirement for meditation. I've been meditating for a decade now, and I actually prefer to meditate sitting in a chair. That's when I find my meditation experiences to be most fruitful. What's most important is for you to be comfortable in a way that would allow you to sustain being completely still for long periods of time. So you just need to figure out what is most comfortable for you and then do that. Jane30530 from Reddit asks, is there a right way to meditate? This is a tricky question. The short answer is technically yes. The right way to meditate is one that eventually leads you to being able to experience peaceful, blissful, joyful states of consciousness, ones that are free from stress and suffering. However, there are different techniques and combinations thereof that can get you there. It's really important to find something that works well for you. I also say yes to this question to highlight that there are wrong ways to meditate. Wrong ways include anything that causes you to become attached to or engrossed or enamored by your mental, emotional, and physical sensory activity. And unfortunately, it's very easy and quite common for people to fall into a trap of meditating in ways they think work, but they really don't. So, for example, there are meditation teachers out there who will tell you to picture something in your mind when you meditate. Well, I recommend against this. The issue with visualization is you're generating mind activity, and that begets more mind activity. What you really want to do is help your mind settle down. A good meditation technique helps reduce mental, emotional, and physical sensory noise. And when all of that activity quiets down, you can begin to access much deeper, more peaceful states of consciousness. Kiri Yuri from Reddit asks, there's nothing wrong with meditating lying down, right? You can meditate lying down. In fact, there's an ancient practice that dates back thousands of years called Yoga Nidra that can be considered as a form of lying down meditation. This practice has gained a second wind of popularity in recent years thanks to Stanford professor and popular science podcaster Dr. Andrew Huberman. On his podcast, The Huberman Lab, he often refers to Yoga Nidra as non sleep deep rest, or NSDR for short. Whatever you call it, there are some differences between lying down meditation and regular sitting up meditation that you should probably be aware of. Upright meditation tends to be much more about improving your steadiness of attention, your focus, and your alertness, as well as your mental discipline. Lying down meditation, on the other hand, is much more about deep relaxation and nervous system reset. Both types can actually help you accomplish what the other one is most useful for, but each tends to be more impactful in their own ways. Ideally, a balanced meditation practice would include both types. Cora asks, why is meditation so difficult? My mind keeps wandering. Since you were born, your body and your mind have been constantly reacting to sensory stimuli. These reactions include, but are not limited to, things like muscle tension, a shift in breathing, having thoughts. Sometimes these reactions are very obvious, but mostly they're subtle and they go unnoticed. Over time, these countless small reactions condition you into a state of habitual reactivity. And unfortunately, this habitual state has a lot of momentum. By the time you decide to learn how to meditate, you're essentially living your life from this persistent feedback loop of distraction, making it challenging to sustain attention or maintain focus for extended periods of time. So when you sit down to meditate and you try to focus on something, or you just try to keep your attention still, you might be able to manage to do it for a short period of time, but soon your attention will wander because of that feedback loop of reactivity. Learning to meditate will help you break free from that feedback loop. It just takes practice and patience to do this. I can't remember who said it, but nothing worth having comes easy. Keep at it. Severe Guava 7974 from Reddit asks, if I fall asleep during meditation, is it a good sign? Technically speaking, you want to avoid falling asleep during meditation. Meditative states are quite paradoxical in that you can experience both high alertness and deep relaxation simultaneously, which is what you want to aim for. This means that you should strive to stay awake. It's not a big deal if you're falling asleep when you're first learning to meditate, so don't be discouraged. And in fact, it's a very common experience for new meditators. The transition from our typically stimulated daily state to one of quiet awareness can initially trigger sleepiness because the body misinterprets the relaxation you're experiencing during meditation as a signal for sleep. With consistent practice, your nervous system gradually learns to distinguish between meditation and pre-sleep states, allowing you to avoid falling asleep during meditation. Tea Time TSS asks, how do I not find meditation boring? Your body has a strong bias toward doing. It basically assumes that if you're moving, you're working to do things to keep you alive, like getting food or water or shelter, etc. Basically, if you're not engaging in actions, with the exception of maybe sleep, your body feels you're not doing enough to promote its primary imperative, which is survival. Your body then generates feelings of boredom and restlessness as mechanisms to keep you doing. When you meditate, you'll simply need to accept that you will feel bored at times. Eventually, as you practice more, those feelings will go away on their own. True meditation practice requires you to overcome this natural bias to instead be still. Sitting still will eventually help still your mind. Nene Batudu asks, if meditation is blissful, then why is it mentally hard for us to practice it? Highly advanced meditators experience bliss during meditation. When you're new and intermediate in practicing meditation, you have too much unblissful activity occupying your field of consciousness. Things like mind chatter, emotions, and physical sensations. This activity is blocking you from experiencing bliss. Working to dissipate or dissolve this unblissful activity takes time and meditative effort. This can feel hard to do until you're practiced at it. Meditate correctly long enough, and you will eventually experience blissfulness. Cora asks, I keep seeing that 5 minutes a day of meditation is enough to get robust results. Is that really enough? 5 minutes a day is a fantastic place to start. If that's all the time you have, it's certainly better than nothing. However, is 5 minutes a day enough to get robust results? Honestly, no. Think about it this way. If you're learning a new instrument, do you think practicing just 5 minutes a day is enough to learn and master that instrument in a reasonable amount of time? No. You'll need to spend longer periods of time learning that instrument and practicing it to master it. And this is also true for meditation. Consider starting with 5 minutes a day and try to add more minutes over time. A Reddit user asks, why doesn't it seem like I'm getting any benefits out of meditation? If I keep going, when will I experience something? There are a few things you need to know about why you might not be experiencing benefits from meditation. First, the meditation practice you're engaging in might be one that doesn't work. There's so much misinformation out there about meditation, and because of the sheer quantity of information and noise that exists about it, it can be hard to figure out what's true and what's not, what works and what doesn't. Some teachers might genuinely be interested in teaching meditation, but might not teach something that works, even though they think it does. Second, even if you're practicing an efficacious technique, you may not be addressing your psychology and the root of what's causing you to experience your stress and overall suffering. Meditating without addressing your psychology is like trying to dig a hole while someone else is throwing dirt back into that hole when you're not looking. You're not going to feel like you're making any progress as a meditator if part of you is working against that progress. In the fitness space, there's a saying of, you can't out exercise a bad diet. And I'd say that's true with meditation too, with your psychological consumption being the bad diet. Finally, assuming you're meditating correctly and are addressing your psychology, be patient. This is a process that takes time. You're literally rewiring and reconditioning your brain. Most people give up after the first few weeks, if not the first few days of learning how to meditate. This is not a short process. It's truly a long game, but it's worth it. I can promise you that. So keep at it. Forever Alone 51023 asks, is it possible to be in a state with absolutely zero thought? Yes, it is possible. Advanced meditators can do this. When you're far along enough in your meditation journey, your brain will start switching off that unnecessary mental noise. Advanced meditators can keep it that way. A Quora user asks, how do I experience mystical during meditation? Much of what you think of as mystical are likely just things we don't have a scientific understanding or vocabulary to explain yet. When we lack understanding about something, and historically when we've lacked understanding about something, we tended to judge, interpret, and explain things through the dominant lens of that time. Historically, this dominant lens has been religion and mysticism. So, for things we didn't understand, we would just claim it was some godly act or some mystical phenomena. As science continues to advance in understanding mystical phenomena, we're able to move away from using religion and mysticism to explain such things. A great example of this are something you may have heard of called chakras. Chakras have traditionally been thought to be mystical energy centers that reside in and along the spine, often thought to have something to do with our emotional states. Modern neuroscience has clarified that what we think of as chakras are likely something generated by the limbic system located in our brain. Neuroscientists are well aware that the limbic system is largely responsible for generating our emotions. This system generates and then projects emotions down through our nervous system via the spinal cord so we can experience them throughout the rest of our body. From the spinal cord, our nervous system branches out extensively. So it makes some sense that people might perceive these emotional plexes along the body's information superhighway. See, what was once described in mystical terms now has a stronger scientific explanation. It's likely as advancements occur in our scientific capabilities, we'll have better science based explanations for spiritual and meditation related phenomena. Hitch32 from Reddit asks, what does ego exactly mean? Most people use the word ego in a couple of familiar ways. If you've heard someone be described as having a big ego, it usually means they have a high sense of self-importance. You may have also heard people be described as having a fragile ego, which refers to someone who can be very prideful and defensive of their identities, beliefs, or confidence even when slightly challenged. But in meditation and spiritual contexts, ego refers to something so much more broadly encompassing, essentially, your entire psychological system and its protective mechanisms. What's interesting is that this system, which is often the source of one's stress and suffering, actually evolved for good reason. Historically, it generated belief systems and emotions that promoted your ancestors' survival. So, for example, if someone failed to find food or water or shelter, their ego would use the body to produce feelings like shame or fear, not to punish them, but to motivate them to keep going, to try again. Ego also developed entire belief systems around how you could best go about ensuring survival. But in first world countries and even many, if not most, developing countries, basic survival needs are usually easily met. Need food? You can go to a grocery store, market, restaurant, or in a lot of places, you can just order food for delivery. You can easily get water from your faucet. So, in contemporary times, the ego has shifted its focus. Rather than worrying about physical survival, it's now primarily managing your psychological defense, protecting and validating your belief systems, and your overall sense of self born from those belief systems. Things like your self concept, your self esteem, your self worth. Most of these belief systems are instilled in us through social and cultural conditioning, as well as our reactions to everyday life experiences. You can think of ego as outdated software that hasn't updated fast enough to keep up with humankind's intellectual and industrial evolution. It is, however, the primary reason for our stress and suffering. Meditation can help us dissolve and transcend this outdated part of ourselves. I Don't Exist 27 from Reddit asks, how do I be in a meditative state throughout the day? This state is what has historically been known as enlightenment. Treated as the stuff of myth or legend, enlightenment is actually just a different state of consciousness. You can think about it this way. Right now, you're conscious. But in the enlightened state, you experience a clarity, peace, and joyfulness that isn't currently available to you because of the sheer amount of conscious and subconscious mental, emotional, and physical noise that is competing for your attention. To achieve the state, highly advanced meditation practitioners will learn to meditate with their eyes open, and then as they live life, they practice remaining in that state. Being able to sustain that state of enlightenment is an advanced result of meditation that takes a long time and practice to achieve. It's likely that major spiritual figures from history lived in and from the enlightened state. People like Buddha, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Krishna, and others. You too are capable of achieving this state with time and lots of practice. Liza Delana 23 asks, what does go within really mean? Adept meditators have the ability to withdraw their attention from the noise of their mind, emotions, and physical senses. This is actually a hallmark skill of an enlightened person. If you consider your existence as layers, your consciousness exists first, then in front of your consciousness appears your mind, emotional, and physical sensation noise. This noise can be considered as outward because your attention is directed out at that stuff. Your consciousness, where attention is coming from, is therefore inward. With practice, you can choose to stop feeding attention to all that outward noise. This withdrawal or going within allows you to experience a peaceful state free of sensory and mental noise. A Reddit user asks, do I really need a meditation teacher to learn how to meditate? I'll admit, I learned through self-study, experimenting with different techniques I learned through books, and while I eventually developed an effective practice, in retrospect, I wish I had sought a teacher who could have taught me and guided me so it wouldn't have taken so long for me to experience effective results in my meditation practice. That's a big part of why I became a deep meditation coach and spiritual teacher, so I can guide people in ways I wish I would have been guided. So technically, you don't need a teacher. However, having one who knows what they're doing can significantly accelerate your progress. They can help you avoid wasting time on ineffective techniques and ensure you're practicing correctly. When you're learning independently, it's easy to spend months or even years practicing suboptimally without even realizing it. A good meditation teacher can also help you engage in honest self reflection, improving your self awareness, which is necessary, by the way, for you to develop a good meditation practice. They will not hesitate to tell you things for your own good, even if they know you would not like hearing it. People have psychological blind spots. A good teacher can help you become more aware of them. On your own, your unconscious biases are likely to cause you to avoid confronting aspects of yourself that need confronting. That said, if you do choose to go it alone, just know it is possible to develop a meaningful practice through careful study, self awareness, and dedication. I'm proof of this. You just need to be prepared for a longer journey. Cora asks, can I improve my personality through meditation? Interesting question. I'm not a psychologist, and you should consider consulting one about this. But theoretically, I suppose you could. Meditation should be able to help you become more self aware and less reactive to your impulses. People's worst personality characteristics are rooted in their worst impulses, and if meditation can improve impulse control through helping people develop better self awareness and less reactivity to those impulses, I suppose you could eventually improve your personality. Those are all the questions I can answer for you today. I hope my answers were helpful. Whether you're just starting out or you're looking to deepen your existing practice, I'd love to support you in succeeding as a meditator. If you're interested in learning more, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell down below to stay up to date on everything that's to come. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.